Sex is a topic that can spark many complicated feelings. Even the most sex-positive folks can find themselves feeling confused and uncertain when reflecting on the arousing erotic mental images, otherwise known as sexual fantasies, they conjure up in their head. It is easy to get caught up thinking your innermost thoughts are deviant. But chances are even your most taboo fantasies are normal and healthy. In fact, evidence suggests that those who have sexual fantasies experience less anxiety and a greater sense of self-esteem. Daydreaming about sex is completely normal, and acting on a shared fantasy may even help spice up a relationship. Now let's get started with sexual fantasies men and women have. Number 1. Threesome. Sex with 2 women or 2 men with a voluptuous woman are variations men often fantasize about, even if they chicken out when the time comes for the real performance. Some men even want to watch their partner do it with another woman and perhaps have a passive role. Number 2. Voyeurism or exhibitionism. Voyeurism is arousal caused by watching an unsuspecting person or people engaged in a private, intimate, or sexual act. A small 1991 study found 54% of men have voyeuristic fantasies. Meanwhile, a 2006 Swedish study found that of 2,450 adults surveyed in 1996, 7.7% had reported becoming aroused watching other people have sex. Exhibitionism is on the other end of voyeurism. It is the act of becoming aroused by others consensually watching you have sex, or by exposing parts of your body to unsuspecting participants. Both of these kinks can be considered problematic if one is unable to control their urges, if the fantasy causes emotional distress, or if legal issues arise. Number 3. In public. Making out and doing it in public is another fantasy most men and even women have. That adrenaline rush they get when they fear someone can walk in anytime arouses them. The risk of getting caught is there in almost 82% of both men and women's imagination as per a study. Breaking the rules and daring to be someone they are not is what works for them. Number 4. Dominant or rough sex. Rough sex is a sexual act that is aggressive, animalistic, and perhaps somewhat violent. It is often depicted as more passionate than other kinds of sex, but can also be associated with unhealthy abusive sex. Though, rough is not inherently dangerous or abusive. Some people are aroused by light restraint, others by intense physical pain. Psychological roleplay, like that between a teacher and student or a boss and employee, may also be considered BDSM as it involves an exchange of power. Justin Lemiller, a social psychologist whose research focuses on sexuality, discovered this fantasy is wildly popular when doing research for his book on the science of sexual desire, called Tell Me What You Want. He surveyed 4,000 Americans and found 93% of women and 81% of men had fantasized about being sexually dominated. Further, 85% of men and 76% of women had fantasized about being sexually dominant. Number 5. Role play. Men and women love role play. It is great for men when the women characters they imagine getting off on come to them in person. They enjoy their partner acting as someone they always thought of. Be it a maid in black and white uniform, a food delivery woman, a teacher, a doctor, or a masseuse, some movie character, and so on. Number 6. Having sex with total strangers. Ever had a sexy stranger show up in your dreams? Nearly 50% of women reported that they fantasize about having sex with an unknown person, according to the survey in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found. The anonymous stranger fantasy permits people to avoid issues like attachment, intimacy, or jealousy. The more impersonal nature of a stranger fantasy may also indicate that you are trying to detach yourself from something that has nothing to do with your relationships. Fantasies about sex with strangers may give expression to a desire to be free of pressure, duty, and responsibility to others in our day-to-day lives. Oftentimes, such fantasies are about what that person represents rather than who they are. Number 7. Same-sex encounters. You will be amazed to know that deep down some men want to have a same-sex sexual encounter. How they want it can be graphic, so use your imagination, but the world is your oyster, hence the possibilities are umpteen. Number 8. Bondage. Men imagine tying up their partner and making love to them. They dream about bondage and have a sadist side to them which they explore in their fantasies. Many men want to have aggressive sex once in a blue moon and do it how certain websites show it or even movies explore it. Spanking is another part of bondage sex that arouses men. It gives them confidence of being the one in control of their partner's sexual arousal. Sexual fantasies are nothing to be embarrassed about. Desire is a key part of sexuality, and having fantasies is normal, common, and healthy. Just because you have a fantasy does not mean you want to act on it. But if you do, it is important to establish consent, respect your partner's boundaries, use proper protection, and make sure you are following local laws around sex and nudity. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, hit that like button and subscribe to never miss our videos in the future.